And just to let you know that this webinar is being recorded. So with that, if we can move on to the next slide, please. So I'd like to welcome you all to our informational webinar for the Hydrogen Economy Microcredential Program. My name is Alan Rossiter. I'm with AIChE at the University of Houston, and I am one of the instructors on the program. Next slide, please. Just to give you a quick overview of what we'll be doing in this session, here is the agenda. I'd like to briefly talk about why we're interested in hydrogen. As you may have noticed, it's become quite a big buzz in the energy sector recently, so we'll talk a bit about that. We'll also then spend a little bit of time talking about the structure of our program and also the cadence, the rhythm that we go through as we present the program. And at that point, you'll get a break from me, and I will introduce you to some of our instructors and also an alumna from one of our recent programs. And then after that, we'll have time as needed for Q&A. And I should say that to respect everyone's time, the goal is to keep this within the stated time from 10 to 10:30 a.m. Central Time. But if there are still questions when we reach that limit, I'm happy to stick around. And if anyone else would like to stay, happy to do that too. To try to make sure that we stay on time. By the way, just before we go on, please make sure that you're muted unless you're one of the presenters. Next slide, please. So please, if you're not a presenter, would you mute yourself and turn off your video? If you're not a presenter, please mute yourself and turn off your video. Thanks, everyone. Let's move on. So next slide, please. So please stay muted, keep your video off, as I said there. All right, so let's move on. The hydrogen economy. Why are we interested in hydrogen? And the short answer is, in one word, decarbonization. That has become a major theme in the energy sector recently. And hydrogen is one of the important ways that we can achieve decarbonization, especially, as I say, within the energy sector. And this covers heating, transportation, stationary power, energy storage, another big growing issue, production of synthetic fuels, and a wide range of industrial applications, some of which are not strictly energy related, but all of which rely on hydrogen as a way of achieving decarbonization. And looking at the right-hand side of the screen, there's a diagram that comes from the Department of Energy's Hydrogen at Scale program. And if you join us on the program, you will see this diagram many different times and several different versions of it, in fact. But this is a great sort of high-level overview of what hydrogen is all about and how it overlays on the existing energy infrastructure. And so on the left-hand side of the diagram, you see the electric grid. And that includes an awful lot of what you might call legacy fossil fuel electric production. Also nuclear, a very significant source of electric power. And then also renewables, which come into that system in increasingly large amounts and have been growing certainly over the last several decades. Now a very significant factor, for example, here in Texas. Feeding into that grid also, or connecting into that grid also, there is a small amount of energy storage these days, but as renewables grow, so energy storage is also becoming more of an issue. And you'll also see in the sort of middle of this diagram, the middle column in this diagram, electric power can be used to generate hydrogen. And talking just before we started this session, people were talking about electrolyzer stacks, and that's really where that fits into the picture and that hydrogen generation there. But also we can generate hydrogen from fossil fuels, especially in steam methane reforming systems. And so that's also represented in the middle of the diagram. At the top there, you see power generation. We can generate hydrogen from electricity. We can also go the other way and generate electricity from hydrogen. And that's another potential play that is important in the growing hydrogen sector. You'll also see at the bottom center the gas infrastructure. Clearly, gas is used in the electric grid, but it's also used directly for heating applications in industry and also elsewhere in many domestic and many commercial and residential facilities as well. And it's very closely related to the hydrogen infrastructure. And then on the extreme right-hand side of the diagram, we see a wide range of hydrogen applications there, both existing and nascent or future applications. Quite apart from heating applications, there are hydrogen vehicles, production of synthetic fuels, and existing applications in upgrading of oil and biomass, growing application in the biomass side. Hydrogen is the a major requirement for production of ammonia and other fertilizer-related products. It's used in metals reforming and a variety of other uses, and many of these are likely to grow as the hydrogen economy expands. Next slide. Okay, so that's why hydrogen has become important. And is growing in its importance. But now, how about the actual hydrogen economy program, the micro-credential program that we run together, I should say, with the American Institute of Chemical Engineers, who are partners in this program. So I want to talk on this slide about what the actual program looks like in terms of its structure and its cadence, reasons why people might be interested in it, and various topics like that. So first off, the upcoming cohort starts on August 19th, runs through to November 13th of this year. And it consists of two different important components. One is what we call asynchronous, and the other we call synchronous. And I know those are big words, but very simply, asynchronous just means it's stuff that you don't have to do in real time. So it's basically recorded content or printed content, or in these days, printed typically means PDFs. So that's the asynchronous material. But then the synchronous component of the program is real-time meetings. And so the cadence that we have with this program has real-time meetings on Mondays at 6 to 7 p.m. throughout the program. There will perhaps be one or two instances where we have to shift those off the Monday, either because it's a public holiday or for some other kind of scheduling reason, but typically they're going to be Monday evenings, 6 till 7 p.m. So that's the basic structure of the program. Looking underneath that, the modules that we talk about there, that basically speaks to the three different main segments of the course. We call them modules or badges. The term badge goes in there because we're looking at, we provide digital badges for completion of each of the modules. So module 1 focuses on hydrogen production. And again, going back to the little chit chat we had a bit earlier, that gets into things like electrolyzer design, but also other issues related to production. Module 2 is hydrogen transportation, safety and use. And then module 3 gets into commercial opportunities for hydrogen. And that includes a capstone project that we run as the main component of module 3. And that's an opportunity to work in groups of students, groups of participants, on some commercial application of hydrogen that you are interested in developing. Now, this may sound a little bit intimidating. I have to say, though, I think pretty much all of the students who participated in the program have found the capstone project an extraordinarily valuable component for a couple of reasons. It's a way of practicing the skills you've been taught in the program. It gives you an opportunity to work together with other course participants and to do some networking. And in some cases, it's also led to actual concepts that are being pursued as commercial opportunities. So, like I say, it's proved to be an extremely popular and very valuable part of the program. And then just jumping back to the left-hand side of the screen, why might you be interested in this program? And I think the first thing that I would comment on is it's a way to jumpstart a hydrogen career. And I would say we do have one of our alumna on this call, and Brooke will talk a little bit about this when she comes up to speak. But I think it's been a major opportunity for a lot of the people who've come into the program and graduated from it. Hydrogen is increasingly becoming a major issue in a lot of companies in the energy space, but many people in that space don't really feel comfortable enough to go in and actively participate in it. But what we found is that the hydrogen economy program that we run is a great way of building up the knowledge and the confidence to tackle real world hydrogen projects. And so that I think is probably the number one reason for people wanting to be in this program. The program is multidisciplinary. By that, I mean we cover a wide range of topics and we invite a wide range of participants. So some of it is technical, but it's also commercial, business-oriented, business cases that we develop. It also addresses policy, and all of these things are part of the program. So if you are in just one of those fields, don't feel intimidated. We want people with all of those backgrounds in the program to share ideas, and don't feel intimidated. For example, if you're a business or a policy person and you don't know enough of the technology, you think the actual lectures are generally overviews on technology, but there's a lot of additional information available in the form of pre-reads or PDFs that we have available on the learning management system if you're looking to go more deeply into technical topics. Next bullet point there, it speaks about the program being interactive. As we're having this session now, we're going to have an opportunity to talk among ourselves as part of this informational session, but the actual live sessions that we'll run on Monday evenings will also be highly interactive. You'll get a chance to talk among yourselves and with the instructors to dig deep into the topics that we're covering. I should also say the hydrogen space is moving extremely fast, as many of you know, and that's another reason why we have the real-time sessions on Mondays, because the lectures that are pre-recorded, they're fairly recent recordings, but they do get out of date very quickly. So we have to have some updates in real time on those Monday sessions. And that also ties in with the next bullet point there. The program is instructed by leaders from industry and accomplished faculty from here at the University of Houston. You're dealing with people who are hands-on in this space. It's a very real opportunity to network, to get to know people who are deeply involved in the industry and are leading in the sector. With that, what I will do is ask Deidre to stop sharing the screen, because I think it's going to be easier from this point on just to deal face-to-face without anything else in front of us. And so at this point, I will invite one of our instructors, and let's ask Kathy if you're able to come on and talk a little bit about the program from your perspective, please.
Sure. So as Alan said, it has these 3 different badges, and so I participate on the production side as an instructor. As a little bit of background on myself and the company, I'm the VP of R&D with Nel Hydrogen. We're a company that's been in business for close to 100 years on the Norway side. About 20, this is our 27th year in Connecticut. We used to be Proton Energy Systems. So we have both proton exchange membrane and liquid alkaline technology. We're also pretty familiar with the anion exchange membrane space as well. And so the section that I cover along with my colleague Olga Marina is electrolysis, high and low temperature. So I myself am an electrochemist by training, a PhD from Caltech. Spent several years on the battery side before joining Nel about 17 years ago. And as I said, we really kind of go through what are the comparisons between the different types of technologies, what's kind of the status. And Olga is a PhD who is at Pacific Northwest National Lab, and she covers the high temperature portion. cover it,
Very good.
Alan?
Well, one thing I would ask you, your title, please, Kathy. We want to know what gives you credibility in this space. What's your title at NEL?
Oh, I think I said it, but I said it too fast probably. So I'm Vice President of Research and Development, and my group is really focused on cell stack development for now,
Okay.
specifically the membrane-based stacks.
Great, appreciate that. Maybe I missed it. I was preoccupied there, but I thought that was important to get out there. Like I
Yep.
said, we have the leaders in the industry, and this is one of them. So thank you very much, Kathy. Appreciate your input. Now and all you've done in this program. Kathy's one of our longtime instructors, and she does a great job. Chuck, are you still there? Oh yeah, there you are. Can you come on, Chuck?
I'm here, Alan.
There you go. You're on.
Yeah. Well, thanks. It's always a pleasure to join these micro-credentialing programs. I'm Chuck McConnell. I run our Center for Carbon Management and Energy at the University of Houston. And Alan really struck the primary word that we talk about all the time, and that's about decarbonization and carbon management, and how hydrogen fits into that is certainly a big part of our program. I've been doing this for the last 5 years at the university. Prior to that, I spent 3 years as the Assistant Secretary of Energy at the U.S. Department of Energy in Washington, where I ran the Office of Fossil Energy. And prior to that, I spent the better part of 35 years in industry with a company called Praxair, now part of Linde. In the last 10 years, I ran our global hydrogen business as well as our energy practice as well, from a technology, business, and sales standpoint. I think what you'll get from me in this session is a little bit of the history of hydrogen and from whence we've come, and some of my perspective around the scope, size, and commerciality of hydrogen applications. Of course, it's always neat to talk about technology. It's probably, from my view, just as important, if not more so, to talk about customers, costs, and sales, and the ability for hydrogen to become a commercial product. And it has grown immensely over the past 30 years. We'll tell a little bit about how that story unfolded. We'll talk about where we are today and how much of what the hydrogen economy will be based upon, not just new technologies and new ways of generating hydrogen as a replacement fuel, but also, and I can't help but say this, Alan, it's linked very strongly to the ability for us as a society to advance carbon capture, utilization, and storage.
Sure.
And the ability for hydrogen that's manufactured from fossil fuels, which, by the way, represents about 85% of all global hydrogen that's produced. How are we going to be able to have decarbonized hydrogen from those types of sources be a big part of our mix existing and certainly in the future? I'll also put a plug in here as well, because many of you students here interested very much in the future and decarbonization. This hydrogen class is going to be great. I'm going to suggest to you that we are running a course very similar to this that will begin on the 9th of September and go to the end of the year. Also a micro-credentialing course in carbon capture, utilization, and storage. Check the website at the UH. There's lots more information. We'll have a session like this for that course here in the next several weeks. But if you're interested in putting the two together, I would suggest you'd have a real 1-2 punch.
Yeah,
So,
Chuck, yeah, thanks for reminding me that. I should have had that available to put in the chat with the link for that. And thanks, Deidre, for putting in the hydrogen ones. I will go during the next talk. I will find the link for the CCEOS course and put that in the chat as well. Meanwhile, yep, not a problem. My bad. I should have had that ready. Okay, thanks to our two instructors. There are many other instructors in the program, and time permitting at the end, I will bring up a more complete list. But I hope you've got a taste of the sort of quality of people we have involved in this program, and the support to the claim that we have industry leaders, because we really are dealing with people here who are top of the game. Also, top of the game, we have one of our alumna who has kindly agreed to come back and talk. And so at this point, I'd ask Brooke if you could come on board and talk a little bit about yourself and what you felt about the program.
Yes, happy to. So hello, everybody. I'm Brooke Vandergrift, Chief Operating Officer of HIF Global's North American portfolio. HIF Global stands for Highly Innovative Fuels. And so we take both Alan's program of hydrogen production and Chuck's program of carbon capture and utilization and combine the two together to make e-fuels or synthetic fuels, which you'll learn about in the program. HIF Global is developing these projects all over the world. And specifically in Texas and in North America, I lead the technical team that is doing that project development. I am an alumni of the 2021 cohort, so I took this class about 3 or 4 years ago. And when I very first started learning about e-fuels and the hydrogen economy, and I just wanted to, or I volunteered to come speak to you all today to give sort of some validity to the program. I valued it immensely. I learned so much just from all the different aspects of production and of safety. And then to Chuck's point, the commercialization efforts of it to really make it a global business. And honestly, wouldn't have the confidence and the negotiating skills that I feel I have today without the program. So I just wanted to come here and advocate for it and let you all know that you will have access to a very robust network, very skilled professors who know a lot about the industry and just a really good platform for either a developer of a technology or a developer of a project to come in and gain some acumen around hydrogen that is sort of unmatched in any program that I researched. So I guess that's all, Alan. I'm happy to answer questions if folks have them, but I think that the program for me, certainly 3 or 4 years ago, starting out in the hydrogen business was a great platform and I was grateful for it. And I think others should participate.
Thank you so much, Brooke. That's great. And I'm still wrestling with getting this other hyperlink to put in the chat. So just give me one moment with that, and then I will officially open discussion. So, okay, I think I got it in. All right, so you should now, if you look in the chat, find the link for information and registration for the CCUS course as well. So thank you, Brooke. That was great. Like I said, we've had a lot of people similar to Brooke who've come into the program and have really found it a good stepping stone to really get a launch in the space. And so we're very pleased to have the opportunity to have Brooke with us to share. Now, I didn't notice any of the other instructors or alumni in the meeting, but if anyone else is there and I missed you, please let me know and maybe you can say your bit too. Otherwise, we'll just open to general questions. So I guess questions. I'm looking in the chat here to see. There was a comment from Bill, Bill Latey. Would you like to share a little bit about what you put in the chat there?
Hello, are you there?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Yeah, go for it.
Yes.
Yeah.
I've been presenting at energy conferences for over 20 years on the importance of complete renewable source greenhouse gas emission-free hydrogen energy systems. And I've found that carrying around this little solar hydrogen demonstrator in my luggage so I can hold it up at a presentation and show people how complete hydrogen systems work is really important. Otherwise, people just don't get it about how hydrogen might be important to us in our advancing attempt to completely decarbonize the entire human enterprise until they see the bubbles forming from the electrolysis process, the fuel cells. So we have no commercial interest in this. I'm with the Leedy Foundation, a small charitable family foundation. But we've just found this to be very useful, and that's why I put the information in the chat. Okay. You might want to try it as well. Thank you.
Thanks, Bill. Appreciate that. That's interesting. I'd not come across that before. Excellent. Thanks. All right. Any other questions or comments? Oh, come on. There must be some.
Alan, maybe you can remind everybody the best way to register for the class and how that process works.
Yeah, so it is in the chat there as well. So those of you who, that's fine, but it's a good point. So the application process is pretty simple. If you want more information, you can go to the website, and that's one of the links that's in the chat. And then after that, the application link. But I also mentioned that we are running this program jointly between AIChE at the University of Houston and the American Institute of Chemical Engineers. And the two links I put in there, one of those goes to the AIChE website, which has probably got the most detailed description of the course, but then the application is actually run by the American Institute of Chemical Engineers, and you'll find it's a very simple application form. And if you're looking for prices, rough numbers, these are not exactly right, but it's about $1,000, just over $1,000 for each of the badges, and just under 3,000 for the complete program if you want to do all 3 badges. So just to give you a bit of a benchmark there. And just trying to see, Cameron, different technologies of extracting hydrogen. So we discuss primarily, obviously, electrolysis, which is very much a growing technology in the space, and also steam methane reforming. Those are the main things that we actually cover in the course. There are, as you say, Cameron, a number of other technologies that are developing. Pyrolysis, for example, is one that we hear quite a lot about. And so, yeah, we certainly are aware of those. We touch on those briefly in the course. We do not go into great technical depth on them, though. So yes, and these things are constantly changing too. There's a great deal of growing technical base and growing commercial opportunity within the hydrogen space. As to the question from Kerry here, and again, we could get into some quite heavy debates on this. There was a note that Jack had sent me a little earlier, which is a very similar question. How does the hydrogen economy compare with other potential renewables that are more energy dense, such as methane and ammonia? What niche do you envisage the hydrogen economy filling? And knowing the people on this call from the instructor side, I think we would have some slightly different perspectives from depending on who you speak to. And that's important because, you know, this space is still growing. And there is still a lot of debate about how it's all going to pan out. My personal view, there are spaces where hydrogen really does not seem to make sense for reasons of efficiency more than anything else. And there are other spaces where it looks like a hugely beneficial opportunity. So there are niches, to be sure, and there are some of those niches that are pretty big, but there are certainly other spaces where, you know, it certainly initially looks promising, and then when you look at it in more detail, it becomes a little bit more questionable. And one of those actually, and again, I might trigger some controversy here, but one of them is actually in terms of passenger cars. I mean, there's been a lot of hype on that area, but it as time goes on, it looks increasingly like it's not going to be the best space for hydrogen. Large vehicles, you know, trucks and so on, it looks like it's more attractive, but passenger vehicles, as time goes on, it is looking like electric vehicles have a significant advantage. So that's one instance where, yeah, Kathy, did you have a comment on that, or anyone else?
I was just going to say, I just want to point out that you need to have low carbon hydrogen to have low carbon methanol and ammonia. So in some sense, they're dependent on each other.
Absolutely. Yeah, good point. Yeah,
Well,
I think go ahead, Chuck.
I was going to say, I think the other standing comment that we have in a lot of these courses for all of you students that are considering this is, when you answer a question, it depends, it's not a cop-out.
Yeah.
Actually, that's the beauty of the course, is to look at the comparisons and contrasts, to understand what the circumstances are in particular, and then be able to parse that for the answer that you're seeking.
Yeah.
And rather than try to get into the details of this question, because we will during the course, I think that's the beauty of this, is to be able for you as a student to be able to understand the construct of analysis so that you can get to the answer that's the right answer using your own knowledge and understanding of the circumstance.
Yeah, good. Brooke, did you have a comment there as well?
No, I was just going to say, my company is in the business of producing e-methanol and other derivatives like e-gasoline and e-sustainable aviation fuel. And we do that because today the hydrogen economy itself is very nascent, but we view it as sort of a bridge to getting to ultimately a hydrogen or a fully decarbonized future. And so what we do is produce synthetic drop-in chemically equivalent fuels that you can use in existing infrastructure, while the electrolyzer manufacturing is able to expand and the carbon capture and sequestration infrastructure is able to be put in place, and such that in the future we can have a truly decarbonized, highly hydrogen-based economy for energy, specifically transportation, power generation, et cetera. So
yeah,
I think they're all complementary. It is not a silver bullet and only one thing will win here. It is that if we truly have a goal of decarbonization, all of these projects and ideas to decarbonize need to be pursued.
Yeah, and I think it also emphasizes the reason why we have our weekly sessions, right? Because this is a dynamic situation too. It is changing. Yeah, every time we run the course, there is new information that we need to talk about. So yes, it is a developing almost literally day by day new things that are important to talk about, new things that affect the trade-offs as to which options make most sense. And yes, I made that comment about EVs. I guess that was dangerous. Yes, there are challenges with EVs as well. So the whole energy space is constantly evolving. So before I put my mouth too far in it further, any other questions? I think everything in the chat has been sort of addressed. If I missed anything, speak up, but otherwise I guess we've hit 10:30, and as I said, I'm happy to stick around and talk if other people want to raise more questions, but I guess we would officially call the webinar, the main body of the webinar, finished. I hope you all got a chance to take down those links for both the hydrogen program and the CCUS program. Both of them, they're clearly interrelated. There's a lot of overlap between them, or a lot of interconnection between them, and they're both very important facets of the energy transition. And we do hope to see many of you in the program when we kick off the hydrogen economy on August 19th, isn't it? I lose track. I think that's what we said the start date is, right? So yeah, we look forward to seeing you there. Make sure you get your registrations in. So I will stick around for a few moments, but as I say, at this point, I will declare the official webinar closed. And thanks to our instructors, Chuck, Kathy, and also to Brooke for joining us. We appreciate your input. And to Deidre for keeping me straight here and helping run the program. So anyone, if you'd like to add some more questions, happy to keep talking.
Yes, hi, my name is Thor Gallardo.
Yes, Thor.
I don't know why not there, I think. There.
Okay,
now,
great.
just a question on the second section, the hydrogen transportation safety. So I implicitly in my mind thought it would include ammonia also, like the vector, like as a vector for. So, or this is just a pure like a hydrogen network, a transportation a course, or there will be also elaboration on maritime for even methanol in this section.
Yeah, we touch on all of those. So yes, I mean, hydrogen transportation gets into alternatives to hydrogen like ammonia. It gets into how you would transport different forms of hydrogen like liquid phase versus vapor phase. So yeah, it addresses all of those topics. Now, obviously we're covering that plus safety in basically a 3-week period, so you're not going to go into super high detail in anything, but you'll get the general coverage of all of those topics.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Kerry, so you mentioned here that you came in a bit late. Do you want us to go back to the introductory slides just very quickly for you?
Yes, please.
Okay. Deidre, if you could go back just to maybe the 2 main slides there, if you would. Okay, go back one. Oops. Okay, yeah. Go next. Next. Okay, there. Whoop, go back. All right. So, Kerry, this is just the overview of what we're talking about in the course, and addressing the whole topic of why hydrogen is important now. And the big issue is really around decarbonization within the energy sector. And so we look at how it can be used in heating and transportation, stationary power, energy storage, synthetic fuels, which gets back to that question that was asked about methanol and ammonia, because those are basically an example of synthetic fuels.
Yes.
And then different applications in industry. And the diagram there is one that forms the basis for a lot of our discussion in the course. And this is the Department of Energy's hydrogen at scale graphic. And it just represents the existing energy structure, predominantly on the left side of that, and how it interacts with current and potential future applications of hydrogen on the right-hand side. And so, like I say, during the course, we will look at essentially everything within this diagram in some way or another. But that's the sort of general framework of what we're going to be talking about in the program. And then the next slide. This talks about how the program itself is organized. And so we have what is commonly called asynchronous material, which means recordings and printouts, or PDFs as we now would use. So that's available for you to study in your own time, and typically that's 4 to 5 hours worth of material per week. And then after you've done the studying for the week, we have a real-time session, a so-called synchronous session, and generally speaking, those will be Monday evenings, 6 till 7. And those are an opportunity to talk to instructors about the material you've looked at, and to have updates on material, because the hydrogen space is moving so fast. Some of the asynchronous material very quickly gets out of date, so we need to talk a little bit about what has changed. And then the program is constructed of these 3 different modules or badges: hydrogen production for the first one, transportation safety and use in the second one, and then commercial opportunities in the third one. And that also includes our capstone project, which is a very important part of the overall program. And then just looking at the bullet points on the left, this talks about reasons why people generally come into the program. It's a way especially to jumpstart hydrogen careers. And I don't know if you were there for Brooke's sort of testimonial for her use of the program, but that's, I think, an important reason for most people to join it. Okay. And then also just observe it is multidisciplinary. We're addressing all ranges from policy to business cases to technology within the course, and we like having a cross section of participants in the program. So don't feel intimidated if you're a business person and you know there's going to be technology in the course. We understand that people will have to, not everyone's going to be expert in all fields, and it's not going to be super heavy on the technology, but there is additional technical material for people who are technical, who would benefit from that additional material. Highly interactive, and then you've had a chance to see some of the people involved on the instructing side. And I hope that addresses your questions. Okay.
Yeah, it does. Can you, I don't know if you're hearing me or
yes,
okay.
hear you.
Yeah, so yeah, that does interest me. What is the cost for the program?
So the full program is roughly $3,000, a little bit under 3,000. Okay. And then do you see the links in the chat? You may not have got them if you joined later.
I saw one as carbon capture, and it seemed like I copied a couple of them, and the carbon capture came up twice. I didn't find the one for hydrogen.
Okay, let me get the one for hydrogen for you. Okay. I can copy these down there. Oops. Okay, I just put them in the chat again.
Okay, thank you. Let's see if it comes. Okay, yeah, now I see it.
Anything else?
And this is just for one semester, or how long does this
So as you'll see from what's on the screen at the moment, it starts August 19th, runs to November 13th.
Just that, okay.
And if you follow the link for the website, you will see there it'll spell out in more detail what the actual dates are. There's a typically a 1 week break between each of the badges.
Okay.
But that it's from August 19th to November 13th.
Okay. Great. Well, I appreciate the information.
Not a problem. Anyone else got questions? All right. Well, if that's the case, I think it's probably time to close this down. Thanks again to everyone who came. Thanks again to Deidre for helping run this show. And thank you, Adrian, for being on board as well. Appreciate having you all here. Okay. Yep. Goodbye, everyone. I will close the meeting.